This is it, the grand finale. The hype train is all loaded. The squishers are coming, and we need to defend Storm's End. Look at you, Jeekwe. You're a man.
Almost. Hey, why is Gilbert Farwind our king now? I was clearly on Team Jeekwe.
Dude, we are not going to spend half the episode on this catty bullshit. What is this, Riverdale? Grow the fuck up, Sir Tan.
Now where the hell is Chad Summerchild?
What up, bros? I've arrived to save the world.
Chad, what the hell is that?
Dude, it's a DeLorean, of course.
What do we need a DeLorean for?
To get this adventure really started with some awesome time travel.
Time travel? We're already dealing with the interaction of all of these characters, not to mention the fantasy elements, resurrection, face changing, kraken, squishers, prophecy. You really want to throw time travel in the mix?
Oh, absolutely. All I know is time travel makes everything better. As long as you don't have sex with anyone. That's the number one rule. Don't fuck anyone. They always end up being your mom or your aunt or yourself.
Time travel always ends in paradoxes. The story is not going to make any sense anymore.
Wait, it makes sense now?
Fine, we can keep the DeLorean, but only if you promise you don't plan on using time travel to hit the reset button on everything. Those were always my least favorite episodes of Star Trek.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll be right back. I'm sorry, bro, but you have to go.
But I wanted to fix everything. Don't you want Bran to butterfly effect himself so he doesn't become the Night King and it just fixes the timeline?
Oh man, that would be a really cool ending, but the gang doesn't seem too into it. You understand.
Okay, I'll just go home.
And our episode begins at Winterfell, now fully in its harsh, harsh winter. Thank goodness Stannis didn't retreat to Castle Black. The north is completely unpassable.
Well, to be fair, the seasons do seem to be way out of whack. The opening shows the sun shining way up into the Arctic. I guess there's no long night coming after all.
And then we get this attempted parallel to the first episode where a little boy is excited about the arrival of soldiers in a royal procession, like when Bran and Arya were excited in episode 1. Wolverine even smirks at him, seeming to remember the incident, though you never know, she might just be thinking about wearing the boy's skin.
Of course, the parallel actually holds no water thematically. Arya and Bran in the first episode were supposed to represent innocence. This Winterfell, and presumably this boy, has seen nothing but constant war for the past few years, and a couple of kings have even come to the area. And it was all dreadful. This was this kid's front yard not too long ago. There is nothing exciting and wondrous about Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington marching into this town here. It's a sign of more horrible things to come.
I'm actually surprised anyone in this area is still alive or hasn't moved away. I mean, there's been constant war and no harvest for what, 4 years? What do these people eat? Corpses, mud, and poor-lit scenes? Move to Dorne.
Anyway, we get a procession of characters including Gendry, who was last seen at the Wall. So I guess they shipped him all the way south, didn't let him off the boat while everyone else showed Cersei the white, and then they shipped him all the way north again. This guy must sure love boats. And of course we get Tyrion making a testicles joke at Varys' expense, showing us that the writing is still top-notch.
Honestly, why is Varys even here? He should have been executed by Daenerys for trying to poison her, and the Starks should execute him for lying to Ned and helping to start the War of the Five Kings. Or did the Bran 9000 not watch this scene?
Who gave it to him?
Some dear friend, no doubt, but which one? There were many. Lord Arryn was a kind and trusting man. There was one boy. All he was, he owed to Jon Arryn.
His squire, Sir Hugh.
Pity what happened to him, just when his life seemed to be going so nicely.
Varys lied about Sir Hugh in order to make Ned think Cersei killed Jon Arryn. If they killed Littlefinger for Season 1 crimes, they should definitely kill Varys.
Kit Harington then says that Northerners don't like outsiders, unless they're Vale Lords, and this makes Emilia Clarke enjoy the fact that her dragons scare everyone. Ugh, like these poor people haven't suffered enough. Remember, this was their home. Give them a fucking break.
We then get to see everyone at Winterfell, and Kit Harington is reunited with Ghost.
Wait, what? Really? Ghost?
No, of course not. Instead, we have everyone forgetting to kneel. This scene is supposed to directly parallel this one. In the original scene, even Hodor knows to kneel, and here, even the Maester fucks up. One would think, with all of these references to Season 1, that someone would actually watch Season 1.
Anyway, we get some pointless catfighting between Sandra and Emilia Clarke before the Bran 9000 tells everyone to shut the fuck up and get to goddamn work. It seems the robot has become sentient. Somehow the Bran 9000 has become my favorite character. Now I'm going to be really upset when our little exposition machine has to butterfly effect himself.
Hey, how the hell did Brienne beat everyone here? She was going by land and then by ship. Shouldn't she be arriving around the same time as Jaime? The crew then goes inside to talk and plan, and sentences a little boy to die by sending him back to the last hearth with horses and carts to get his people. Hey geniuses, you have 2 dragons. Help a little kid out. Or are the dragons exclusively for Emilia Clarke's dating life? And can't Bran's skin change ravens and stuff? Can't he scope out where the Night's King's army is and see if it's dangerous? Friggin' amateur hour.
Lyanna Mormont then cuts in and complains that Kit Harington bent the knee. Like, honestly, anyone should care at this point, considering that a zombie horde is heading towards them. But isn't it also rather obvious that Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke are going to get married? He'll be king again in like 2 weeks. Tyrion then decides to tell everyone how the Lannister army is coming, and that's met by loud protest. But honestly, I'm not sure why anyone is complaining. The Northern Army here is almost entirely wildlings and Vale Lords. Besides Lyanna Mormont and Wyman Manderly, no one there should have a problem with Lannisters.
Sandor then begins to rightly complain about the logistics of feeding everyone and asks what dragons eat. Emilia Clarke then shuts it all down with one badass reply. Whatever they want. Yep, she seems to be getting a lot of use out of that new book she bought. Badass one-liners that make you look so badass but don't actually contribute to anything.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, hello, it's Shade of the Lamp.
I just wanted to mention that Sandor brought up the impossibility of feeding, housing, and clothing nearly 100,000 people in an environment that hasn't grown food in 4 years. And now that it's been mentioned, we never have to think about the issue again.
Anyway, Reunion Fest continues as Sandra is approached by Tyrion. Tyrion brings up Joffrey's wedding, and I think he implies that he thinks that Sandra killed Joffrey, and Sandra lets him think that. Tyrion then says that everyone underestimates Sandra, which I guess would be a conclusion you could come to if you believe that she killed Joffrey, but in reality she was rescued by Littlefinger, rescued by Theon, rescued by Brienne, rescued by Littlefinger again, and then rescued by Bran. I think everyone is just underestimating her plot armor. And then Bran stares at Tyrion. How's that Night King army doing? You keeping an eye on little Ned Umber?
So we then get a reunion between Kit Harington and Wolverine that's supposed to be touching, but honestly, I'm not normalizing Wolverine here. Are we supposed to forget about her insanity last season? Or the fact that she chopped up human beings and cooked them into pies? This fucking thing is a monster. Stop trying to make me like it. And then weirdly, we get more Sandra praise. Wolverine tells us that Sandra is the smartest person she's ever met. Sandra, the girl who trusted Littlefinger, the most obviously untrustworthy person in the world, and got caught up in that whole mess. And then the minute she gets out of that, she convinces Kit Harington to try to rescue Rickon, despite thinking Rickon was a lost cause. Then she hides from Kit Harington the fact that she has an army at her disposal for no reason, trusts Littlefinger again, and then gets manipulated into sending Brienne away and nearly killing her sister. Bran 9000 has to save them. This is the smartest person that Wolverine has ever met. Smarter than Catelyn, or Luwin, or Cersei, or Syrio, or Tywin, or Littlefinger, or Beric, or the Hound, or Melisandre, or Jaqen, or the Bran 9000. Sandra is smarter than them all.
We then get to Cersei, who is happy about the wall falling. I'm not sure what exactly her plan is for the White Walkers. Wildfire and giant crossbows? And then we jump to Euron to find out that he's pretty much the most compassionate hostage taker in the world. Yara looks well fed and is in great shape. Robb Stark was a cruel monster by comparison. Yara then asks why she hasn't been killed, and Euron says it's because they are the last Greyjoys with balls.
Whoa. Euron's brother Aeron died? When did that happen?
I don't know, off screen? Or maybe it's a mistake. With this show, I don't even know.
Anyway, Euron then spills the beans about his master plan. Fuck the queen. Diabolical. Remember when this guy was a seemingly mystical entity on a bridge?
We then get to Harry Strickland, who tells us that we won't be getting CGI elephants. All the CGI budget has been spent on those stupid dragons, and Euron's master plan comes to fruition. He is allowed to fuck the queen. And I do have to hand it to him. When Euron has a goal, he achieves that goal. Become king of the Iron Isles? Boom. Done. Build a fleet? Boom, done. Fuck the queen. Boom, done. He's a go-getter.
We then go over to Bronn to get in our tits and ass quota, and of all the times to interrupt Bronn, Qyburn chooses this moment as time is of the essence, despite the fact that Jaime's been gone for weeks traveling to Winterfell. Qyburn then tells Bronn to kill Jaime and Tyrion and presents him this crossbow of epic significance, as if Bronn would have any fucking idea what this was. Does Qyburn assume Bronn was in the room with Tyrion and Tywin or something?
Hey, is that the crossbow that Joffrey used to kill Roz? Dude, that is epically meaningful.
Anyway, after the sex, Cersei drinks while being pregnant despite abstaining last season, and Euron mentions that he's going to impregnate her. I imagine Cersei is going to lie and claim that Jaime's baby is Euron's baby here, but really Cersei is already a few months pregnant and should even be showing. Jaime impregnates Cersei in episode 3 of last season. He then travels to Casterly Rock, Highgarden, and then back to King's Landing. Then the armistice is planned. Then the Alliance of Good travels all the way to the Wall and back. Then the armistice happens, and then Euron travels to Essos and back. So yeah, it's definitely been a few months. So I guess Cersei has a Gilly-style fetus? Both are rather inbred.
Anyway, while Euron is away, Theon plans his rescue, and
That was easy.
Theon talking to Kit Harington about how he wanted to rescue Yara took far more time than this, and a random dude on the beach put up more resistance. Yara then headbutts Theon for rescuing her, I guess blaming him for allowing her to be captured in the first place, but she might just be jealous as she failed miserably at rescuing him against a shirtless Ramsay. Anyway, they decide to fuck off, though they forget to steal Euron's ship, and Yara, despite just headbutting Theon for being a coward, decides to be a coward by going back to the Iron Islands to hide. Yara is straight up the biggest hypocrite in the entire show.
Next we get back to Tyrion, Varys, and Davos, where Tyrion claims that the Karstark sigil is great and proceeds to shit on Davos' sigil. And weirdly, Davos agrees with him. Davos' sigil, the Onion, the representation of a harrowing mission that saved hundreds of lives, including a future king, and was responsible for Davos becoming a lord and hand of the king, versus a monochrome sun. And then the Council of Uselessness talks about the benefits of Kit Harington proposing to Emilia Clarke. I was going to say that this is the most obvious thing in the universe, and then remembered that proposals aren't a thing in Westeros. So I guess Davos is talking about something revolutionary, changing the entire marriage system. Or, the show fucked up again. We then hear that the dragons are barely eating, though in the next scene they seem to have eaten everything in front of them. And rather than helping a poor little boy not die a gruesome death and be reborn as a zombie, Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke decide to go on a date. And somehow riding dragons has become boring. Kit Harington says that he doesn't know how to ride a dragon, and Emilia Clarke gets some more use out of that book she bought. Badass one-liners that make you look so badass but don't actually contribute to anything. No one knows how to ride a dragon until they ride a dragon. And then I fell asleep, some CGI happened or something. They land, make out, and then a dragon stares at Kit Harington, either trying to cock-block him, or maybe he wants in on the action, I'm not sure.
We then get to Gendry making an axe for the Hound, and the Hound straight up steals perhaps the most famous line from both An Officer and a Gentleman and Full Metal Jacket. The only difference is they replace steers and queers with cocksuckers and cripples. Reunion Palooza continues with the Hound complimenting Wolverine by calling her a cold bitch, though I'm not sure cold is the right word. Would one consider the Joker cold? The show again tries to normalize Wolverine with some flirting. She chopped up people and put them into pies. And then Wolverine asks for a special dragonglass device. You see, it's not enough that Wolverine is going to kill a White Walker with her dragonglass dagger. She has to have a second special weapon as well.
We then get to Emilia Clarke telling Sam that he's great for saving Jorah's life, and she offers him a reward. Sam asks for a pardon for stealing books and stealing a sword. I guess he doesn't care about breaking all of his Night's Watch and Maester vows. Emilia Clarke then tells Sam that she burned his dad and his brother alive. This is his older brother according to the behind the episode, making Sam joining the Night's Watch completely nonsensical. Now yes, this scene is well acted, but the premise behind it is utterly ridiculous. Sam left Oldtown in the same episode that his father died. Somehow Sam traveled the entire continent, including his home kingdom of the Reach, right by his own lands, Horn Hill, right by the battlefield where his father and brother died. Never once did he hear about the death of his father, a major lord and a leading general in the war. Really? And Kit Harington was never briefed by his hand or lieutenants on this news. Nor Jorah. He was never briefed so he could warn Daenerys. Or Maester Wolkin. Or anyone. How is this even possible? I mean, when Sam checked in at Winterfell, didn't he have to, register or something to get a room?
Whatever the case, Sam runs outside and finds the Bran 9000 waiting for him, and notably not preventing little Ned Umber from being mutilated, reborn undead, and burned into a second death in utter agony. He instead tells Sam that he needs to drop the parentage bomb, so Sam goes and reveals to Kit Harington that his mother was Lyanna Stark, allowing Kit Harington to believe that he was an incest baby for a good 5 seconds, before eventually revealing that Ned isn't his real dad. Sam also points out to Kit Harington that he's the true heir to the Iron Throne, even though succession stopped being a thing in Season 6. Unless I'm supposed to believe a dead lord's mother should take the Reach, a dead king's mother should take the Iron Throne, and a dead lord's brother's ex-girlfriend should take Dorne. Sam tells Kit Harington that his real name is Aegon Targaryen, though Kit Harington must have been pretty darn confused, as everyone knows that Aegon Targaryen was smashed against the wall as a baby. There was this whole fight scene in Season 4 about it. It involved Oberyn Martell. It was kind of a big deal.
And then we make it to Beric and Tormund at the last hearth. I think it's really, really dark. They run into Ed, who thinks they're whites, despite Beric holding a flaming sword. And then the crew finds little Ned Umber, who screams out, wondering why no one helped him with dragons and skin-changed ravens. No, we have to accept that the Bran 9000 needed to stare at people, and Emilia Clarke needed to go on her date. I'm sorry, Ned Umber.
And finally, Jaime has arrived at Winterfell. Didn't he once have golden hair? I'm fairly certain that was an important plot point at some point in time. And the Bran 9000 stares on, giving absolutely no fucks about Ned Umber.
So I had to come home to Bronzegate. I just had that feeling that I left the iron on. Oh dear. It's a sign from the Squisher King.